The holidays are right around the corner, and that means more travel, more flight delays, more security pat-downs. Between the airlines and the TSA, it looks like the cards are stacked against consumers. But joining me now, Hanni, Executive Director for FlyersRights.org, which fights for passenger protections. Katie, thanks for being with us tonight. I want to start by talking about the TSA. I think we've spent some $57 billion on the TSA over the last 10 years. Are we getting our money's worth?
We are not getting our money's worth. Something's very wrong with that government organization, and it needs to be pared down and made a lot smarter.
Well, how do we do that?
Well, what we do is we find trained people who actually have some training in law enforcement and maybe even medical training if we're going to have them reaching their hands down 85-year-old women's pants to investigate their medical devices and ensure that they have the kind of training needed to deal with all different kinds of human beings that are going to come through TSA. I think we need to stop looking at 100% of Americans as terrorists, and we need to start looking smartly at risk-based, intelligence-driven security. And that would mean a lot less TSA employees and a lot happier travelers.
Well, I got to tell you, I mentioned we've spent something like $57 billion over the last 10 years, and at the same time, we've had 25,000 security breaches. So something's not right there. Do you think the right solution is to privatize this thing?
I do. I think if we had private security, you'd see a little bit more of what you get when you leave San Francisco airport, which I did a couple weeks ago, and you do get a thorough pat down. Unfortunately, private security has to follow whatever TSA guidelines are, so they really can't veer too far off from what TSA says they can do or can't do, but they were much friendlier. And I noticed that they've really adopted a much friendlier, nicer way of being in San Francisco where they are privatized.
Well, it does seem like the TSA folks are often grumpy. I've got to tell you, I've been through airports twice in the last 2 months, and on both occasions, I don't know how to describe it, but I've been groped for no good reason. It's not because I'm not carrying anything illegal. I'm not, I don't know why I get picked out.
I feel the same way as an airline passenger rights advocate, and every single time I go to the airport, I opt out of the scanner because I don't want someone in a back room looking at my naked body, and I ask for the pat down, and with the exception of a couple weeks ago, every single time I've had a bad experience where I literally had to have like an out-of-body experience to deal with it. It just feels so violating, and older Americans feel particularly egregied when these things happen. They don't feel, they're not terrorists. I mean, where's the common sense?
I mean, look, we do have to stay safe, right? And I am willing to put up with a lot to be safe. So where do we draw that line? What can be done to make us both safe and not feel like we're being strip searched every time we go on a flight?
Well, they need to do something similar to what Israel has done and start looking for bombers, not bombs. And they need to go to a biometric technology, in our opinion. That means that you would have a background check, offer your fingerprint and an iris scan. And if you check out, you don't have to go through anything more than the metal detector. It would speed up the lines. It would create a large group of low-risk travelers that could speedily get through the security process. And then TSA could focus on those that truly do present a risk at the TSA checkpoint.
Well, we got a long way to go, that's for sure. Tell me, your organization actually is about airlines mostly, right? How did you start this thing?
Yeah, my family was stuck on the tarmac for 9 hours and 17 minutes, and the toilets overflowed, and there was no food or water. And it turned out that that was a very common occurrence. So our organization started out fighting the tarmac delays with the airlines. And we really didn't take on TSA until a couple of years ago when they introduced the body scanners. And then our membership was up in arms saying, Kate, you've got to do something to stop this. It's a violation of our Fourth Amendment rights. And then the TSA introduced the really intrusive pat-downs. And that's when people started saying en masse, I'm just not going to fly if I have to go through this every time I go to the airport.
Well, so
now we are comprehensively taking on both the airlines and TSA and trying to bring some sanity back to the whole travel process.
I have to tell you, it's a whole different feeling these days, flying. It just feels like it's just such a weight when you get to that airport these days.
And going through TSA delays people. It has them feel vulnerable. They end up getting on a plane and feeling totally stressed out. And even before TSA implemented these horrible procedures, there are a lot of people that had sweaty palms when they fly. But now, that's why you see so many what I call air rage events or even ground rage events where people Yeah, you know, you get on a
Absolutely
plane
true.
and somebody's getting kicked
Yeah.
off for
All
saying
right.
something to a flight attendant, or, you know, not doing something in a way that a flight attendant wants to see them do it. It's because everybody is so stressed out because their experience from beginning to end has been awful. Even purchasing a ticket is troubling for people.
Well, Kate, we obviously could go on and on. We got a lot of complaints about the airlines, about the TSA. You were great to bring it to us. Thanks for talking with us today. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Coming up next, it's not just the TSA causing travel headaches. Business travelers usually have a lot on their mind and as a result are victims of identity theft. This is important. You're going to want to hear it. How to protect yourself next.